Welcome back to a new video. So this is several of the workouts of the week all put together. Had a session with some snatch balances and some push press, some snatch clean and jerk reps, heavy snatch grip deadlift that led to a really light session. I took the day off on Friday, and then Saturday was the heavy day of the week, which went almost perfectly, but it went as bad as well as I could hope. This week overall felt like it went pretty well. Got a lot of good work in, and did a couple of extra hypertrophy with the upper body with the bands and stuff, and got some of that productive work in, and it's really just gotta make sure that I'm getting better sleep during the week. Not necessarily better quality, but just more time. I actually feel like my sleep's been of good quality. I think a lot of that is weather related. It's been really cool at night, so I've been able to sleep with my window open and just let it kind of naturally cool. Because it's been as low as in the mid 50s, which is fantastic because I have a window right next to my bed, and I just leave it open for a couple hours before I go to bed, and it cools down my bedroom. Not really the whole house, but just the bedroom, which is the only thing I need. And then by the time I wake up in the morning, it's nice and crispy. But this is kind of the only time of the year where I'm able to really do that and take advantage of that. And it's still kind of iffy because now it's in the 60s or whatever. So to get it to cool down in there, I feel like if it's in the 50s outside, it gets the room nice and cool down below 70. But if it's in the 60s, I think now it's 65 or whatever, it's not really going to make too much of a difference. But I probably still will utilize that today since I cooled down the house with some air conditioning. But that's something that I've been intentional with, is just trying to make sure the environment I'm sleeping in is good. I've also realized when I was a kid, and really honestly through college, I always like to sleep on my stomach, and that's something that when I take a nap, I still enjoy doing. But whenever I try to do that now at night, I inherently or just always end up sleeping on one of my arms, and it falls asleep, which is, my arms are kind of large now, so it's kind of annoying, in the middle of the night to have to use basically my whole body to flip my arm over to keep it from falling off. But I've realized why my body kind of does, because it happened as a kid, but not very frequently enough to make me change how I sleep. I slept on my stomach throughout my childhood and throughout college, really. But what I realize now is I probably would have to get a different kind of pillow, and mostly by different, I mean a larger in width, because my shoulders are wider than my pillow. And so when I sleep, just on my belly and turn my head to the side, I realize that in order to get comfortable, I have to put an arm underneath my pillow to give artificial width to one of the sides, because if I don't, the weight of my shoulders and the width of them pulls down my chest and whatnot enough to make it to where it's not actually comfortable to sleep. And it's not like I'm suffocating or anything, but I realize that's why my body's just saying you're not comfortable, because I'm not getting as much airflow as I would need to comfortably fall asleep. So obviously I can sleep on my back or whatever, and that's fine. I've never been able to sleep on my side. I've never tried to do it growing up, so I don't know if it ever would have actually worked. But now I feel like I'm just too wide. I'm too large in a muscle sense to comfortably be on my side. I don't know. I've really dedicated. I think in the summer I actually tried it several times and tried to put some pillows between my legs and all these different things. But I honestly think it's just not possible to do it comfortably, where it would take so much effort that it's just not worth it, because I can get comfortable on my back or on my stomach. Thankfully, I actually don't snore a lot. I have a alarm thing on my phone that allows me to see how much I'm snoring, and it is really pretty minimal. I always kind of thought it would go up. Maybe as I continue to get older, it will go up, because I know, although my dad snores a lot, and he started to use a CPAP, and he's not large by any stretch of the imagination. He was, I think, at his most, so he's about 6'3". I think he weighed about 220 at the highest that he ever weighed, and he was always in really good shape. Hence my good genetics for muscle building and stuff. But I remember as a kid him snoring a lot, and he was always extremely active. He's a phys ed teacher as well, but also exercises a lot regularly. And for me, when I have that app to track, the only time I notice that my snoring increases is when I have any sort of nasal congestion, which makes logical sense. If you have that sort of restriction, that my snoring would go up. That's that's not something a CPAP would fix or anything like that. And I actually remember trying one a while back, but that was horrendous. But I am very much a mouth breather and sleeper, so I would have to have like a full mask anyway. But I don't. If I see my snoring is like extremely high, and I feel like it gives me a good ballpark estimate, because it does like record the sounds of my sleep, so I can actually listen to it to see if there are those noises. But I feel like the quality of the sleep is fine. Like I said, it's the hours, and I do find it interesting that I can weigh. Although this week I was 236, last week I was 240, the week before I was 239, and the week before that I was 236, and that was the first week of school. So still fighting, I suppose, to maintain weight, but I'm not really too concerned about maintaining my weight. More so just that it's consistent. If I'm between 236 and 240, then I'm fine. I just don't want to feel bad in 1 week of training and see that I'm 232 because I ate 100 calories every day. It's something that I have to pay attention to a lot more during the school year, because obviously I'm a lot more active just throughout the day teaching, that I'm just going to be going through a lot more calories, and not even just the movement, just night. I say stress, but like it's more like stress, like how lifting is stressful to your body. I feel like just the act of teaching itself is, I'm not just walking around passively in a circle, like I'm actively thinking and stuff. And I feel like that probably burns more energy than just the walking around itself. But maybe that's true. Maybe that's just, me. But that will, that is something I do have to account for during the year. But the sleep is, something I don't know if I've necessarily 100% figured out. I don't think anyone truly ever figures it out 100%. But I think for me, it's just going to bed at an appropriate time. But I think also, I forget what I was trying to get out there. But, hydration. That was kind of the other big thing. So that was something when I got my blood work done. I finally did an annual physical, which was not annuals. I hadn't had a physical since any sort of blood work since college when I had my knee scoped. I don't even know if they did blood work then, but I had my knee scoped then, and probably at some point in college had some sort of physical, but nothing that I truly remember. So probably even before that. So did that kind of annual checkup this spring, and had blood work. In the first one, I had really high, or not really high, but just elevated creatinine. I think that's how you say it. Looks like creatine, but it's not. But it's essentially a measure of kidney function. This was the session I was thrashed from that pull, heavy snatch, grip, deadlift. But it was really just hydration related, because I never am thirsty. And I remember when I was talking to my mom about it, 'cause she's a nurse, she's saying like how she has the same issue as far as just like not having thirst, not thinking about drinking water, and her mom having that same thing. So probably is some sort of genetic thing, because like it's not as if I'm like forcing myself not to drink water. I just don't think about it. But now I've really dedicated, really since that point, to really just making sure that I'm drinking some amounts of water. Obviously, if you have milk and coffee and other things, those add up as well. So I'm not freaking out if I have less water on a day, as long as I can know that I've had other other beverages and stuff. It's just more so making sure I dedicate some effort to making sure I have some amounts of water. And I think that's been a really helpful thing, to be more consistent in training and just feeling better in general, having that. So I think this is sleep, or the hydration is a big thing. And it also probably prevents my weight from fluctuating too dramatically. And that's something that, if I were to lose, 2 pounds from consistently being dehydrated during the week, I'm just going to lift poorly until my body can get saturated again. Because, I mean, if you think about your muscles need water and stuff like that. So, and when I'm walking around at school and stuff like that, it's very easy for me to just not think about drinking water, or drink really minimal amounts and get dehydrated. But that second one's funny that I did there. I was really close. I think if I wasn't in the shed, there was a chance I could have ran it out, but it would have been way too many steps forward. So certainly beneficial to be in the shed for that, because it just makes me have to be more precise. But I was hoping to do it for 3 singles. That was kind of the goal in this heavy session, not to necessarily go to 1 rep max, but to do multiple singles at that 120. I was able to do it for 2 and then have a close miss on that second one. So I was quite happy with that. And then clean and jerks went well as well too, where I did 2 singles with 150, and I kind of deluded myself after the second one to thinking I could do a double, and you'll see me miss a clean with that. But that and 2 singles of 225 in the back squat, just to same kind of theme, just multiple singles at heavyweights instead of trying to go to 100% maximum on everything. So I don't know how I'll approach this session the next week, but it did feel good to have this day, and it almost like took pressure off this session where I was still able to push myself and have the pressure of a heavyweight, but not as, I wasn't trying to snatch 130 or trying to clean jerk 160 or whatever. I didn't have to get to that Super Saiyan level to lift the weights, but felt pretty good on this day. That is for sure. So also had to get some car work done. Well, not really. I just had to get a rotation. It's that kind of time. And I'm going to do the oil tomorrow, which I strangely lost an oil filter. I have when I did my oil the last time, I just bought the oil and the filter that I would need for the next time just because I was thinking about it. And I was like, it could obviously sit there forever. And I found, the thing of oil was where it was, but the oil filter that I had bought with it wasn't there. So the spider probably ate it because nobody lives in my house now to, steal my stuff unless someone broke into my house and stole an oil filter from a bag randomly in my laundry room and nothing else, which I'd be kind of freaked out if that was actually the case. That would actually be kind of terrifying if someone decided to do that. That's such a random thing to do, but thankfully they're like $10 or whatever, so I'm not stressing about that. But besides all that, my salary upgrade's going to happen pretty soon, I think, from completing my master's degree and all of that. So that'll be exciting to get that little bit of pay bump. And this next school year, we're going to get a new contract, which will mean that obviously next year I go up another step. Every year I go up a step on the contract, but the new level will be essentially everyone gets a 3% raise most of the time with a new contract each year. And then there's that step that's on it. So instead of it being like 3,000, it'd be like 6,000 or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but the bumps I'm going to get are going to be extra nice because I'm going to go up a step. I'm going to go over a column on the chart, and then the new contract that we'll negotiate this year, everyone will get a little bit of a raise on top of that. So be nice to see, and it just makes me well compensated for such a fun job that I have. I'm really lucky to have that sort of thing. But so that's gonna be it for this one. Real happy with this heavy session, and hope everyone's having a good week, and stay safe out there. Peace.